Appreciate those of you tuning in on VCUathletics.com for this week's edition of Thoughtful Thursdays Live Chat. This week we're joined by men's basketball associate head coach Mike Rhoades. Just a reminder, if you'd like to pose a follow-up or ask a new question, you can click on the Cover It Live link on our website. We'll do our best to get to as many questions as possible. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll jump right into today's question, and our first comes from Mark in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He asks, what does a typical practice day, say in late October, look like for your staff from morning until night?
In October, we're there early. Very early. Will Wade beats everybody in there, but we're in there early, and we just start watching tape. We start, Coach Smart starts putting practice together for that day or for the next day. Sometimes we have a 2 or 3 day plan, and then our itinerary for the rest of the day is preparing for practice, getting ready for the next day of practice, and then getting to practice. Usually we'll practice around between 2 or 3, and we get there early, spend some time with the guys, get them loose, and then we probably have about, in October, 2:15. 2.5 hour practice, and then after that you go back to the office, you watch the tape of practice, make a lot of recruiting calls, and then start all over the next day.
Sydney from Midlothian asks, what part of the game do you enjoy teaching the most?
Probably the offense, and I love dealing with the guards and getting them to see the game better, make the game easier. Probably dealing with the offense and the guards. I know that I was around guys growing up my whole life, and guys that I worked for that was defense, so I'm big on the defensive end and not giving up easy baskets, but I love teaching the offensive part. And I think one of my most enjoyable things is watching guys carry something over from practice that we talked about into the game, and you can see it on their face that they're getting it. It's a neat thing.
Jason from Richmond says, we saw you and your family a lot during the Final Four run. What does it mean to be able to share that experience with them?
Unbelievable, unbelievable. My kids, out of the blue, will bring something up about the Final Four and talk about it. It's one thing when you experience something as fun, as exhilarating as the trip to the Final Four and these special wins, but it's even greater when you can share it with people. And I got to share it with the people I love the most, and it was unbelievable that VCU allowed my family to be with me the whole ride, and not just my family, but the Joneses, the Smarts, and some special friends, our alumni, and my wife got to meet so many neat people, and my kids got to meet other friends their age. It was awesome. It was unbelievable.
Bill from Pennsylvania asks, I saw several articles about you during the run, and it seems that you have a lot of pride in the place that you grew up. Can you talk about your hometown and the pride that you had there?
Yeah, I grew up in a small coal-region town in northeast Pennsylvania in Schuylkill County called Mahanoy City. Proud to say my town has about 5,000 to 6,000 people, 4 red lights. It's a mile long, and it's just a hard-working, sort of put your coal helmet on and go to work type of town, and I'm very, very proud of it. It's where my family grew up, and it's where my family is now, and it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot, and the number one thing was the work ethic. You make no excuses in my town, and you go to work, and I've carried that over to coaching basketball, and it's who I am, it's where I'm from, and I'm very proud of it.
Tom from DC says, you're quite a player in college yourself. It's a two-part question. What was the most coveted accomplishment as a player, and was it difficult to make the transition from playing to coaching?
Probably winning the national championship my junior year at Lebanon Valley in 1994 by far surpassed any individual award. I got a lot of individual awards. I received a lot. That was fun. That was something you could put in your room, the trophy and all that. But the feeling to win something with your teammates, and our team at Lebanon Valley was so close. We're still very close now after 16 years. That was by far one of the neatest things I've ever experienced as a player. Making the transition, it was much, much easier than I thought it would be. There's times when I was early in my career, I said, I could do that. But I really enjoy teaching the kids something. They carry it over to the court, they do it, and it becomes part of who they are. And that, to me, that's more enjoyable than me doing it. And I've really, really enjoyed that transition part more than I thought. No, it wasn't too bad. I got my fill playing pickup and playing in the summer leagues and some of the men's league in Richmond as I was an assistant at Randolph-Macon and as a young head coach. But that transition was much easier than I thought it would be.
Chris from Hanover wants to know, you were at Randolph-Macon for a while. How difficult was the decision to leave and come here to VCU?
It wasn't as difficult as maybe people perceive it was. When you give, wherever you're at, you're going to give it all you got, and you're going to build great relationships. When you move, you still can have those great relationships. I don't work at Crenshaw Gymnasium anymore, but I still have an incredible relationship with Danny Jones and Timmy Lawrence and guys that were there, Jordan Brown, and I still do after their graduation, and that will never change. That's part of building a program that's bigger than ourselves, that you have those relationships. I still live 2 blocks from Randolph-Macon. My kids still ride their bike through campus all the time. We still walk to some events there when we have some free time. It's a special place to me. But I wanted another challenge, and I think a lot of people at Randolph-Macon have completely supported that challenge that I've taken here at VCU, and I got a lot of friends out of it, and I'm fortunate to say I'm a huge Randolph-Macon fan and a huge VCU fan.
Charlie from Richmond asks, which player do you think has a chance to surprise the most people this season?
I think a couple. We need some guys to surprise, but I think Rob Brandenburg and Troy Daniels and Darius Theus are those guys that are ready to step up. I think they'll surprise a lot of guys, a lot of people, and their teammates as well that with their play. And Javante Reddick, I think he will step into more of a leadership role and a main figure role, and it's something we're definitely looking for him to do.
Ben from Chesterfield wants to know, what's the most rewarding part of being a coach, and what's the most difficult part?
The most rewarding part for sure is watching kids, taking kids and watching them do something they couldn't do earlier, and they do it and it becomes who they are. From their mentality, from just maturing to being on the court, watching them mature and get stronger, watching them do something that they couldn't do previously, maybe the year before when they were freshmen, watching them grow up as men. I love watching juniors and seniors telling freshmen that's not how we do things when they did that when they were freshmen. And so just the maturation process, the whole thing. I think that's why we're here. We're going to win basketball games. That's what we do. But watching them mature as young men and being ready for the real world, and they look you in the eye, that stuff to me that's very rewarding, very rewarding.
Kathy from Richmond asks, besides the obvious physical skills a player needs, what intangibles do you look for when recruiting a player?
Toughness. It's just sort of my fiber. You want kids that are going to be tough, so they'll never quit. They're not afraid to push themselves beyond maybe what they pushed themselves the year before. I love if you get tough kids, you have a chance to beat superior talent. And then you look for guys that love basketball. I think guys that love to be in the gym all the time, talk basketball all the time, watch basketball all the time, they're going to improve because of their love for the game, and I think that's really important.
Anthony from Henrico asks, if you had to pick one thing that you thought was the key to the Final Four run, what would it be?
Coachability. I think when we got into the NCAA tournament, or the CAA tournament right around that time, the seniors didn't want their careers to end. The seniors didn't want to leave each other, have that final game, and everybody dropped a personal agenda or an issue about anything, playing time, wanting the ball more, or what plays were going to run. Everyone became so coachable, and they were so locked in. It was unbelievable. It's even tough to explain, but we were so locked in and I call that we had laser focus to what we needed to do, that it was one of the neatest things in my 16 years as a coach, watching that. How coachable, how everybody was locked in, and I think that was the number one thing. Guys just put everything aside and said, we're not letting this end, and it was really cool.
Lisa from Richmond asked, what game would you remember the most from the Final Four run?
I'm going to probably say, well, the Kansas game, just because it's Kansas, nobody gave us a shot. I know a lot of people felt that way for other games, but I think going in that game, it was like, VCU made a great run, they're going to be done, and our guys well before the game, the night before the game, expected to win. Our coaches expected to win the game, and I think that was the most rewarding. But I thought the Purdue game, where we at times dominated the game and our guys were playing with such confidence that something went off inside them and said, hey, we're here, we're getting this done, and I thought that was very rewarding.
John from North Carolina says, can you talk about the relationship you formed with Joey in the last 2 years? You guys really seem to bond well.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Heck, he babysat my kids in the last 2 years. He spent a lot of time with my family, and it's a sort of a point guard relationship. I wanted my goal with him those last 2 years of his career here was, let's make the game easier for you, Joey. Don't fight it so much. and he did a phenomenal job of listening and carrying it over. And the one thing that he loves basketball so much, and he's such a competitor, and sometimes that goes against you at times. And I think he just did a really good job of making the game easier, finding ways to not be so competitive. You can be very competitive, but that it doesn't counteract you. And I think he did a great job of that. And as you saw at the end of the year, he was playing as one of the best point guards in the country, and we went where we went because he had such a clear head and played the way Coach wanted him to play. It was great. I had a great relationship with him. I'm really proud of him.
Kelly from Richmond asks, was the transition from Division III to Division I difficult, and what may have surprised you about the transition?
I don't know if the timing's the same. If you're going to work your craft, you're going to spend a lot of time on it. I don't think that was different. You know, the schools were different. I was recruiting a small liberal arts school to a downtown huge university, but that was a neat challenge. That was fun. I had to find my niche to recruit and sell VCU. Recruiting at Division III is harder than Division I. There's different facets of Division I, and with the rule book and so forth, you got to make sure you're on top of all that. That was probably the biggest adjustment, making sure you're doing everything the right way. But basketball is basketball. Kids still want to be coached. Coaching the game didn't change. I would think making sure that putting them in line academically and making sure that you're on top of our guys off the court was probably the biggest adjustment, making sure we did a good job with that.
Ed from Short Pump wants to know, what trait or skill is most important to be a successful college point guard?
Seeing the game, and I always say that seeing the game, being 2 plays ahead or logging the last 3 plays of what happened, being an extension of the coach. A lot of guys could break their man off the dribble. A lot of guys could make an incredible pass, but making the game easier and thinking the game. I was a good point guard, but when I was a freshman, I didn't know. I just played. And my coach in college really taught me how to see the game better, enjoy the game, make it easier. And I think the cerebral part, without a doubt.
Warren from Richmond asks, which game this year are you most looking forward to coaching in, and what game or opponents are kind of the toughest to scout?
Your rivalry games are always the most fun because you just get so excited, and you want to make sure you win those games. Crosstown against Richmond or ODU or JMU or George Mason, everybody gets fired up for them as coaches as well. The games that people don't think you could win or they doubt, as a coach, those are the ones you look forward to. I do. If you're going to tell me we can't beat this team, I'm going to prepare for that to prove you wrong. And that's just the competitive edge coaches have. So I think that's that part. This upcoming season, we have some really, really tough games. We have a lot of tough games on the road. We have a young team. So all those things are going to come into play. But you prepare your team the best way you can with keeping it simple, but not making them go into the game worrying about what do we do instead of go out there and play as hard. You know how VCU plays.
Our last question comes from Holly in Richmond, and she wants to know, what makes you most excited about the future of VCU basketball? The vision.
Most importantly for me personally is the vision, but doing it the right way. Coach has this great vision. The administration has this great vision, but they want to do it the right way, first class, with an incredible philosophy about student athletes, not just putting guys out in the court, winning games and seeing what happens, about the whole process. And that was the way I was raised, about being a scholar athlete. You could be a gentleman and a fierce competitor. I think that's what we're creating here at VCU. There's guys here that are doing well in the classroom, that are doing well in the court, that can walk up to a young kid or to an adult and handle themselves the right way. That's the vision Shaka has, and I think that's the vision that we're moving forward with, and that's exciting. I think a lot of people want to be a part of that. A lot of parents will want their kids to be a part of that as well.